welcome back to the channel. I am so excited for today's video. So today I'm going to be talking about my favorite fantasy books. It'll be a mix of series and standalone, a couple recurring authors that you'll notice, along with a variety of subgenres such as YA fantasy, high fantasy, fantasy romance, just all things fantasy. I'm really excited about this video. It's taken me a long time to make it just because I read so much fantasy. Fantasy is a huge part of my childhood. Those are the books that I grew up reading. Those are also the books that my mom and my grandfather read as well. And so fantasy just has a huge part in my life. And it's definitely the genre that I gravitate towards the most. So when I was trying to sit down and think about all of the books that I've read over 20 years, like, what are the books that stand out to me? And it was just a really daunting task, but I think I've narrowed it down. A lot of them are things that I've read most recently, just so that they're top of mind. But there is one series that I remember from my childhood that I'm going to be talking about as well. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the series that I just finished most recently, and that is the Mirror Visitor series by Christelle Dabos. I have the second and third books here. I actually loaned out the first book, and the fourth book has not been translated into English yet, so I am patiently awaiting that. So the Mirror Visitor series is a French fantasy series that takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. This world has been rebuilt after it was suffered an event called the Rupture. Most of humanity was wiped out during the Rupture, but a group of magical demigod-like beings survived, and those beings formed different arcs, and each of these arcs has a different power. The series centers around Ophelia, who is a young woman from the Anima arc. She has the ability to understand the history of objects through touch, as well as travel through mirrors, which is why it's called the Mirror Visitor series. At the beginning of the first book, she is given in marriage to a man named Thorn, who is of the Dragon Clan of one of the polar arcs, which is super ruthless, super deadly, and really just dangerous overall. She is whisked away with her chaperone, who is her great aunt, and forced to live and kind of in the court of this arc and kind of understanding all of their rules. This is a YA fantasy series. It is pretty long, but the books are really lush and vivid, and the world building is absolutely incredible and the best part of these novels. There is a romance subplot, but I will say it is the world's slowest burn. It takes up through to the very end of the third novel for it to kind of become a central plot point. So this is not a romance-centric fantasy read by any means. This series is also full of morally gray characters, which, if you haven't noticed by now, I love a good morally gray character. It's got a great, eccentric cast of characters and just so much adventure, along with Ophelia, who is this just incredible main character. I would absolutely recommend this series to pretty much anyone. It kind of fits into all of those different subgenres in some way. Cannot stress enough how much I love this series. So once again, that is the Mirror Visitor series by Christelle Dabos. All right, next I'm going to talk about are actually standalone, but they are from the same author. So if you like one, you will definitely like the other. They are the Starless Sea and the Night Circus, which I listened to audiobooks. I don't own a physical copy of the Night Circus, by Erin Morgenstern. I'm going to start with the Night Circus because it's the one that I read first. The Night Circus was one that I kind of dragged my feet on a little bit. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I have this strange fascination with any books about circuses, so I'd always wanted to read it, but I had heard that it was just a very slow building romance. I don't really like slow burns as much, so it was not one that reached the top of my list. However, I also grew up listening to the Jim Dale versions of the Harry Potter audiobooks, and when I found out that Jim Dale narrates the Night Circus, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. It blew my mind. I absolutely love this novel. Once again, it is just so lush and vivid, and the world building of the circus is incredible. It's a super expansive novel. It covers a very large period of time, but it also doesn't focus specifically on the main characters. There's lots of other characters that you get their stories and how they kind of weave into the central plot. So the Night Circus is about two warring magicians who have this challenge that they do time and time again. The challenge is that they will raise and teach young magicians, and then those magicians will fight in basically a duel to the death to see who is the better teacher and who is the better magician. So at the beginning of the novel, the magicians have just started their challenge again, and they have selected Cecilia and Marco as their kind of prodigies. They decide that the setting for this challenge will be this incredible magic circus. Cecilia and Marco do not know what the stakes are. So they meet and they actually, begin a relationship and fall in love. Meanwhile, not knowing that they are both entered into a fight to the death. So it is a star-crossed lovers story set in just this incredible atmosphere. But like I said, it's really expansive both in time and character. So you not only get Cecilia and Marco's story, but you also get other people who are, inadvertently wrapped up in this story. So you get the followers of the circus and the other performers in the circus and just so many different perspectives. There is just so much detail that goes into it. But if you enjoy slow burns or star-crossed lovers or really sweeping epic tales, then 100% would recommend The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Her other novel, The Starless Sea, is also very similar in that it is, once again, a vast sweeping tale. So The Starless Sea centers around this sort of underground creative retreat. It is this magical location where people have been invited to come create work, to live there, but it is all about stories and the ideas and powers behind stories. And so it takes place both in modern day with flashbacks told through story formats. There's a lot of mystery around what exactly this place is. And so when a young man kind of stumbles into this mystery and realizes that this area is in danger, it's part mystery of him trying to figure out what's going on and how to protect this wonderful magical land, but also understanding why people are trying to destroy it. There's got multiple different romance subplots. None of them are really front and center. And once again, similar to The Night Circus, it is a very slow burn, star-crossed lovers kind of feel. The Starless Sea was definitely one of my top books of 2020, just because Morgenstern is just such a fantastic world builder. And I keep talking about world building throughout this video, but that's because that is one of the most important things to me when it comes to fantasy. If you like slower paced, lush, vivid tales, definitely read The Starless Sea. And if you like The Starless Sea, you'll like The Night Circus and vice versa. So that is The Starless Sea and The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Okay, the next series is one that I couldn't do this video without giving a shout out to. It is the All Souls Trilogy by Deborah Harkness. I couldn't go a whole video without giving you guys one fantasy series centered around witches or vampires. So I'm going to give you one centered around both. If you haven't heard of the All Souls Trilogy, the first book is A Discovery of Witches, which has been produced for television by AMC. It is a fantastic book to television rendition, and I would absolutely recommend watching that, even if you don't read the books, but you should definitely read the books. The All Souls Trilogy centers around Diana, who is a witch, and Matthew, a vampire. It takes place in modern day, though there is some time travel. And in this world, there are witches, demons, and vampires that live secretly among humans. Diana unknowingly discovers the Book of Life, which is a magical book that talks about the creation of magical beings. It's been hidden for hundreds of years, and she unknowingly finds it. And when she does this, it sets off a chain of events of lots of people trying to harm her so that they can get their hands on the book. Matthew is a vampire who kind of steps in to protect her, and of course they fall in love. There's a lot of insta love here. So for my Twilight fan, this is basically an adult version of Twilight, though I will say it's a lot more consensual and a lot less weird than its YA cousin. The trilogy follows their relationship and also this mystery of how different magical beings came to be and how they're all connected. I loved the second book, which actually they do travel back in time to the Elizabethan era. And so I loved the second book because you get to meet characters like Shakespeare and Kit Marlowe and all of these just amazing literary characters because you find out that Matthew's actually a member of the School of Night. So it is just a like part historical romance, part paranormal romance, all magical, all wonderful romp. I totally binged these during quarantine and read all 3 in like a matter of a week. So if you're wanting a good binge-worthy fantasy romance, I would definitely recommend the Also Trilogy by Deborah Harkness. And the last series, I'm going to just give a really brief shout out because it's actually been like 15 years since I've read this series, but I couldn't create this video without giving a shout out to the series that started it all. That is the Dragon Jouster series by Mercedes Lackey. I read these when I was probably 11 or 12, and it was the first like high fantasy adult fantasy series that I had ever read, and it took me out of middle grade and into adult fiction. The Dragon Jouster series centers around, once again, 2 warring countries. Vetch is a serf who serves the dragon riders of Tia, who are involved in a war with his home country of Alton. He has a dream of raising his own dragon so that he can go back to Alton and train up their dragon army to help them end this war with Tia. There are 4 books in this series. They're pretty lengthy, but they are one of the most well-done dragon books I've ever read. The dragon personalities really come out. You get to see these relationships form between dragon and rider, as well as kind of get a little bit of a political war novel. It's really well done. Mercedes Lackey is the renowned fantasy author, but Joust was the first series that I ever read from her when I was a kid, and it really just kicked off this fascination with fantasy. So if you're looking for a good, like, traditional fantasy series, I recommend reading the Dragon Jouster series by Mercedes Lackey. I believe it came out in like 90s, so it's a little older. They're still pretty widely available backlist titles. So yeah, once again, that's the Dragon Jouster series by Mercedes Lackey. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had so much fun putting this video together and getting to talk fantasy with you all. I'll definitely be doing another version of this video in the future because, like I said, I'm always reading new fantasy books, and there were some that I left out that I do love. So I'll be doing another round in the future as I discover and read more. So in the meantime, comment and let me know what your favorite fantasy series are, or any that you'd like to see a review on or would think that I should check out myself. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at NotSoWellRead. Bye everyone!